Musk is known for his lofty goals, his splashy tech news, and his stock market fluctuations. All of his endeavours are pretty aspirational. Probably the most extravagant of all of his works is his SpaceX Starship. The clock struck 1 a.m. A few minutes before closing time, when most Americans were heading to bed or watching the last episode of The Office before it leaves Netflix, Musk gathered his team. It seemed strange to him that the Starship factory hadn't been humming at all times. Neither steel sheets nor fuel tanks could be welded into domes or stacked into rockets, and things weren't as fast as he desired. And that is when it all started. The SpaceX Starship aims to safely ferry 100 people to Mars at a time and remain reusable. Let's find out more about Elon Musk's Starship. Musk is developing a vehicle that could revolutionize space travel, known as the Starship. It will be a fully reusable transport system capable of carrying up to 100 people to Mars. Elon Musk's private spaceflight company SpaceX was founded to make life multi-planetary. Existential threats such as an asteroid strike large enough to wipe out humanity are partly behind this. Establishing settlements on other worlds would secure some of the eggs for human civilization if one of them were to suffer a cataclysm. Musk's spaceship certainly isn't easy to launch into space, but it will be enormous. It is among the largest vessels ever made for space travel. A total height of 120 meters and a payload of 100,000 kilograms. What exactly is inside this giant starship? We'll take a closer look at the SpaceX Starship, which could serve as the foundation of interplanetary travel in the future. We need to understand the different parts of the craft before we go inside. As the name implies, the Starship refers to the combined elements of the Super Heavy rockets and the cargo and crew carrying area. You have the missiles on the bottom half and the ship on the upper half. When you look at the whole thing, a unique rocket propeller design created by SpaceX stands behind the Superboss rockets. The rocket will have 28 Raptor engines at the bottom. According to SpaceX, 28 engines are the way to go. Having been carefully developed over the last decade, they will be powered by 3,400 tons of cryogenic methylox and should have a thrust capacity of approximately 16 million pounds per rocket. This makes the Super Heavy even more powerful than the massive Saturn V rockets used to launch NASA's Apollo moon missions in the 1960s and 1970s. We reached the Starship in the craft after passing these massive thrusters. Separation would occur after launch. At the bottom of the Starship, the rocket can be used for further launches. A total of 6 Raptor engines will keep the craft moving through space. Upon launch, these engines are highly efficient and carefully burn the fuel over a series of stages to maximize the output. Musk. At every stage of the project, SpaceX has placed a heavy emphasis on efficiency. The fuel tanks are located above these 6 Raptors. Both of these tanks are filled with liquid methane and liquid oxygen. Fuel and oxidizer are considered to be liquid methane and oxygen respectively. Methylox is formed when the two are combined. Some scientists have found this choice to be unusual because it is not traditional rocket fuel. Methane is adequate rocket fuel. Musk has also said that methane can be synthesized on Mars by using the Sabatier reaction and ice in the atmosphere. Because methane can be synthesized on the surface of Mars, it is a highly appealing fuel source for the project. There is an area of the spacecraft called the upper stage or nose cone above the 2 giant propellant tanks. For the trip through the stars, cargo and people were placed in this enormous payload compartment. Musk has hinted that 5 or 6 people could fit in one cabin if you were determined. According to him, there is a better chance for 100 people per trip with 2 passengers per cabin. In addition to storage space and common gathering areas, the payload area provides shelters designed to keep the crew safe from radioactive solar flares during the flight. Based on renderings, it appears that the cabins are more like walk-in closets. However, it's always possible that over time, these will expand and reshape to make the journey to Mars more comfortable. Musk has set a timeline for the first civil crew to travel to the moon in 2024, but the Starship is still undergoing several prototypes. Yusaku Maezawa, a Japanese billionaire, will sail aboard with a crew of civilians for a week-long trip. What will life be like during that week? The rendering shows small cabins inside the nose cone for passengers to sleep in and store personal belongings. Concerts and events relating to classical music are depicted in other renderings. Musk seems to want the journey to be like a cruise ship in some respects, even if they're far from there. Passengers could enjoy fine dining, live entertainment, and activities to keep them entertained and occupied during the trip. Even so, 9 months is a long time for a cruise, so it would be safe to assume that you would have plenty of time to commune in the common areas. Beyond these renderings and some minor details, Musk has been relatively tight-lipped about the human experience on the rocket. During this time, he has been primarily focused on the spacecraft design and how it will be launched and flown. Upon being asked about the life support systems he intends to include on board, he said it isn't too difficult to implement. The life support system of a spacecraft seems pretty straightforward, but is it really that straightforward? After all, the life support system needs to be able to simulate everything. Earth is essential for human survival. The right atmosphere or mixture of gases is included in his. Additionally, they are used to breathing, which involves filtering out appropriate amounts of carbon dioxide while maintaining the right amount of oxygen. There is also the issue of drinking water, human waste disposal, and protection from dangerous radioactive solar storms. The International Space Station uses regenerative life support systems. In this system, urine and sweat are recycled into drinking water using electrolysis to maintain long-term stays of human activity. To keep the atmosphere, oxygen is split from water. According to Musk, the Starship's life support system will be regenerative as well. Scientists say that Musk's current prototypes should consider this if he wants to keep his aggressive timeline on track. Life support systems add substantial weight and space, so they should be incorporated into his current designs. At this time, SpaceX does not have experience with regenerative life support systems. They have placed a Crew Dragon spacecraft in orbit equipped with a life support system, but a regenerative system does not maintain this. Several pre-supplied, finite lifetime components are used to keep the plan. Another critical unknown is how passengers will be protected from solar storms. There has been careful shielding against this radiation during previous missions to space and the Moon. In the design of the Starship, there are shielded common areas for the crew. It's been a long time since we've sent astronauts to these places, so we're unsure how their 9-month journey to Mars will affect them. If you constantly have to rush down and brace for solar storms, that'll undoubtedly make for an exciting and possibly uncomfortable ride. What are the chances of humans colonizing Mars soon? As far as Musk's plans go, he wants to colonize Mars with people. Humanity may face 2 outcomes, according to him. Either we suffer some extinction event on Earth, or we become a spacefaring species and ensure our survival by spreading our population over a larger solar system area. In the next decade, we could send some simple missions aboard the Starship, but I believe we will not send crewed missions to Mars at this time. We don't yet know enough about what it would be like to send hundreds of people to the surface of Mars, plus some crew will be needed to go and establish habitable conditions first. Although Musk has set lofty goals before, despite numerous doubts, he somehow manages to achieve them. As we see more prototypes launched in the coming years and eventually the first human-crewed mission to the Moon, keeping a keen eye on the horizon is critical. Approximately what several civilians do you think would want to help colonize Mars? Would you instead monitor efforts from your home if you stayed on Earth? It appears we will have an answer in our lifetime if things keep going as they are now. Let's wait and watch. Well, that will be all from this video, folks. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please consider subscribing to our channel. We'll see you with another one soon, so take care and goodbye.